Good day, my name is Bluesuit and today I'll be going over my review of the story-driven dark fantasy turn-based tactics RPG known as King Arthur Knight's Tale. In King Arthur Knight's Tale, you play as Sir Mordred, rival to King Arthur and once villain of all that is righteous in Britannia. In the wake of the war that you unleashed, the entire world has been cast into Avalon, a dark and mirrored underworld of the lands that existed before, wherein heroes have become madmen and tyrants seek to destroy evil. Among the greatest of evils now is King Arthur, who spreads destruction all across Avalon. The story in King Arthur Knight's Tale is probably its best feature, a rarity among tactical turn-based games. There isn't an enormous amount of dialogue, but the story's really interesting, even if you aren't familiar with the tales of King Arthur. As the game begins, Sir Mordred is resurrected by the Lady of the Lake and is essentially made her prisoner until Arthur is defeated and you become the new King of Camelot. Along your journey, you'll get to make loads of decisions that will decide what kind of king you'll be. Each decision changes the in-game morality chart to give you more unlocks, depending on how rightful or tyrannical you are or how much you follow the old faith or Christianity. These unlocks have a huge impact later in the game as you get to the far edges of the chart, but somewhat pigeonhole you into certain leadership styles, as they work much better if you go head-on in one direction. If you're a balanced leader who makes different types of decisions based on the situation, then you might not unlock anything at all. As you make your way through the game, you'll meet the cast of 30 characters from Arthurian legend to assist you. Each one comes from one of the 6 available classes in the game, and they all have their own alignments that can give you a bonus in battle if you're making decisions that they like. My strongest character was Sir Balin, the Vanguard, which is essentially Knight's Tale's version of a rogue. His morality was a Christian tyrant, so I intentionally pushed for all of those decisions so that his loyalty would grow and his damage output would skyrocket. The other 5 classes are the heavy two-handed champion, the tanky defender, the ranged marksman, the arcanist, and the sage, which is unlocked much later on. These classes aren't the most creative that I've seen, but each member of your team can have different abilities within those classes. So Sir Mordred, as a tank, has the abilities of more of a bruiser, while Sir Peleus is more of a traditional tank with abilities that help block damage for his teammates. On normal difficulty and below, you'll probably only have 4 core team members that you use constantly to get the job done, but on higher difficulties it's much easier to incur an injury, permanent vitality damage, or even lose one of your characters to death, in which case you'll need to have a trained reserve of characters ready to step in. In terms of gameplay, King Arthur Knight's Tale is on par with what we've come to expect from the genre. Each mission you're running around a handcrafted map, getting into fights, healing at campfires, and uncovering useful loot. I wasn't a big fan of the level design here. The game really has this dark, relentlessly oppressive atmosphere to it, and these levels are no different. It's not a bad thing throughout the rest of the game, but it really makes these levels all just blur together, and most locations fail to feel unique. Coupled with a lack of enemy variety, it often feels like you're doing the same missions over and over with different dialogue. The fights themselves are very satisfying though. Tactically, they aren't the deepest, with only 4 character slots to build your team and the aforementioned small enemy variety, but the game transitions seamlessly from exploration mode to fight mode, and you can hold spacebar to speed up these fights. There's a lot more tactical depth in the late game when each character has loads of skills to choose from, but it takes a lot of hours to get there. There are 2 things in the combat that I'd like to point out. The first is that there isn't a turn order, but rather your whole team takes its turn and then the enemies. I kind of go back and forth on what I like more, but having your whole team take its turn at the same time is a really great way to set up coordinated attacks, because you can move character A, debuff with character B, and attack with character C without worrying about enemies messing up your strategy until their turn. And the second thing is your health bar. First of all, you have your armor that blocks damage, and when you take a hit, your armor score will block a certain amount of damage. You'll potentially lose 1 or more armor points, and then the rest of the damage will hit your HP bar. However, if you run out of HP, enemies begin damaging your vitality bar, which can only be refilled by skipping missions to spend time in the hospice. Enough damage to your vitality bar will cause injuries that will reduce your combat capabilities, and if your vitality bar reaches 0, that character will be dead permanently. In between missions, you're tasked with the restoration of Camelot, where one by one, you'll recover the various districts, such as the Cathedral, where you can heal injuries, or the Merchant, where you can purchase new gear. These are unlocked with the gold and building resources you earn on missions, and each has a handful of upgrades within them that provide various boons like increased armor for your team or more experience gains. Managing Camelot has a lot to do with knowing your character's backstories as well, because you can put your heroes in charge of certain aspects of the town, and based on their bios, they can provide secret bonuses that passively buff your team in various ways. You can pick up King Arthur Knight's Tale right now on Steam for 45 bucks. The gameplay is honestly on par with what we've come to expect from the genre, and a lot of the early game is really a drag because of how long it takes to ramp up and become engaging. The second half of the game, though, is really where it starts firing on all cylinders. However, where it really shines is in its unique story and dark take on the established world of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. There are a few performance issues and spotty voice acting, but the story overall is what's going to make this one stand out. So for that, I'm valuing King Arthur Knight's Tale at $39, and I definitely recommend it to fans of turn-based tactics games who are looking for something a bit more story-driven. I hope you enjoy this review of King Arthur Knight's Tale. Come see me on Twitch where you can watch our reviews in progress. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Until next time.